In a peaceful village surrounded by lush green fields and whispering woods, lived a woman with her only daughter, Gauri. Now, Gauri wasn't the kind of girl who woke up before sunrise or stayed busy with household chores. No, Gauri spent her days in leisure, watching clouds drift across the sky, dipping her feet in the river, and humming tunes for no reason. The villagers knew her only as Lazy Gauri. When she walked through the streets, people would shake their heads in disapproval. She seemed utterly unbothered by life. But her mother told a very different story. To her, Gauri was a hidden gem, skilled in every art. She spins, sews, cooks, cleans, speaks sweetly, and outwits even a fox, she would say. Any man who marries her will be the luckiest. Not far from the village lived a wealthy merchant with a son who was the picture of charm, like a prince from a storybook. Shiny hair, bright smile, expensive clothes. But behind his polished appearance hid a young man who had never lifted a finger for work. He lived in luxury, spending his days grooming his beard and admiring his reflection. Fed up with his son's laziness, the merchant hoped marriage might change him. When he heard about Gauri and her supposed talents, he believed she was the perfect match, someone who could set his son on the right path. And so, without truly knowing either of them, he arranged their marriage. The wedding was beautiful. The couple looked like characters out of a fairy tale, two beautiful people exchanging vows they didn't fully understand. From the beginning, they tried to impress each other with stories. The groom boasted of cutting wood and hauling grain with his father. Gauri claimed she could spin the finest thread and sew a dress in a day. In truth, neither had ever done such things. Their life together started like a dream, filled with laughter, romance, and admiration built on lies. But the merchant, a practical man, was not so easily fooled. One morning, he announced he was leaving on a business trip. Before departing, he handed Gauri a bundle of flax and asked her to spin it into fine thread. To his son, he ordered that all the wood in the shed be chopped. The young couple agreed with brave smiles, but once the merchant left, their smiles faded. They sat in silence, staring at the tasks before them, flax and an axe. Neither dared admit the truth. Instead, they brushed it off. "I'll finish this in a day," Gauri said confidently. "This is child's play," the husband replied. But when they parted ways, Gauri to the spinning room and the groom to the woodshed, both were filled with dread. Gauri sat before the spinning wheel, staring at the bundle of flax like it was a wild beast. She had no idea where to begin. The wheel looked more like a torture device than a tool. Feeling overwhelmed, she stepped outside, hoping the open air might offer clarity. By the river, she heard laughter. Under a crooked tree sat three strange women. One had feet as large as dinner plates. Another had lips so wide they nearly touched her neck. The third had thick, veiny hands. They called Gauri over. At first she hesitated, but soon, her worries poured out like monsoon rain. She confessed she didn't know how to spin and had lied to impress her husband. The women listened quietly, no judgment, no surprise, just gentle nods. Then, without a word, they placed their hands on the flax and began to work. Their movements were fast, skilled, almost magical. The wheel spun, the thread formed, and in no time the entire bundle was transformed into fine, glowing thread. Gauri could hardly believe her eyes. But they weren't done yet. "Come," they said, leading her to the shed where her husband sat, still as a stone, axe untouched. When he saw Gauri, he forced a smile, but Gauri now understood everything. She didn't need to say a word. The three women followed her in, picked up the axe, and started chopping. The one with giant hands swung with masterful strength, while the others neatly stacked the wood. Not a single piece fell out of place. Her husband watched in stunned silence. When the work was done, the women stood, dusted off their hands, and said, "Your task is complete." The husband gave a sheepish smile. Gauri looked at him and asked, "You too?" They both laughed, not out of pride or relief, but because they had finally seen each other as they truly were. Two pretenders, playing roles they didn't fit, but together, they were a perfect match. That day, they quietly made a pact. No more pretending. Life became easier when they learned to laugh at themselves and accept their flaws. Their peace didn't come from spinning thread or chopping wood, it came from learning how to live together, honestly. When the merchant returned, he was astonished. The thread was flawless, the wood perfectly chopped and stacked. He nodded in approval, thinking his plan had worked. He never knew the truth. And as for those three mysterious women, just as suddenly as they appeared, they vanished. Some say they were spirits who helped the helpless, not out of pity, but because they enjoy teaching the lazy a little humility. And perhaps even now, they wait somewhere for the next idle soul to cross their path.